Hi guys, it's Benny here, and today we will be exploring Holland's personality theory. We are going to break down the six personality types and then see how they relate to real life job choices in Nigeria. By the end of the lesson, everybody should be able to understand why certain individuals might enjoy certain careers more than others, and why some people look forward to going to work while others dread how their day is going to go. So, who exactly is John Holland? Well, John Holland was an American psychologist, and apparently he was a professor emeritus in the sociology department at Johns Hopkins University, and he was the founder of the career development model, commonly known as the Holland Codes. Now, the thing about Holland Codes is that it has a foundation, or should I say, Holland's theory, the theory he created, has a foundation in model personal orientation. What is model personal orientation? Well, model personal orientation basically refers to the personality type that describes a person's preferences and tendencies in a work environment. So basically, John, okay, I'll call him John instead of saying his full name. John decided that he wanted to create a personality type that would give, or let me say, a classification of personality types that would describe how a person would react, or a person's tendency to react in a work environment, and a person's preference to work in a certain kind of work environment. Now, he said that the process of gathering this personality type, like for the personality to have been built, it had to have been established through two ways, either by hereditary, that's genes, biological ways, or experiences, that's the individual's life history after the person has reacted and reacted to different emotional demands, or the environmental demands then. So now, this theory was formulated around the observation that every individual is different. Every individual possesses different traits, different behaviors, and different interests. And because of this, Holland now categorized the personality traits into six different groups. He divided it into six different groups. Something else that Holland believed was that people would choose careers based on their personality. The work environment also has personalities. And then he now said that the better the match between a person and their work environment, the happier and more successful they will be. In summary, these six different types of personality has a mnemonic of RIASEC. So it's RIASEC. The R stands for the realistic personality. I stands for investigative. A stands for artistic. E enterprising personality, and C conventional personality. So the RIASEC. So there are six personality types: the realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and then conventional. Now, each of these personality type usually gives an idea of the kind of work environment that a person might lean towards, that the person might choose, and that the person might enjoy. So when you know the kind of person an individual is based off of the six personality traits, you might have an idea on the kind of work environment that the person might fit in better. Now, John believed in some things. He believed that people chose careers based on the kind of personality they had. Remember, we say based on the personality that they had, the work that they will gravitate or lean towards is always dependent on their personality. So he believed that people chose careers based on their personality. He believed that work environments, the place where you are working, also had in quotes personalities. So you could have maybe a dull personality for like the work environment, you could have a lively personality, but he was trying to say that the work environments also had personalities. Then another thing he believed was that the better the match between a person and their work environment, the happier and more successful they will be. He recognized that both the work environment, the settings in which people work, they live, they play, can also have different personalities. And these different personalities was the personalities that he had created. That's the RIASEC typologies. So if a person that maybe is artistic naturally is also fitted into an artistic environment, he would thrive, he would be happier, he would be productive. But anyway, let us actually dive into these things in more. But before that, also, we need to also explore the fact that Holland looked at, you know, what we described. Remember what we described vocation as exactly. He said that the interest, the natural tendency for people to, or the suitability of an individual to a certain career, and the preference an individual has towards a certain career can act as a part of, or can contribute to the personality that the individual exhibits. So he was basically trying to say that the personality and the interest have a relationship together. So your personality can predict the interest you're going to have later on, or at that point in time. Now, he says that It also said that members within the same vocation have similar personalities, and because of the similar personalities that they have, the way they would respond to situations would be similar. Now, take for instance, people that okay, I'm not going to use Rasek models, but let's assume people that are known to be extroverted. They are friendly, they are very social, they are loud in a sense, they are bubbly. If they go out today, no matter the kind of environment they are in, they will make friends. And that is how it is for most extroverted people. However, introverted people, no matter the scenario or the situation or the place where they go to, most times the way they will behave in social settings is that they might not talk to people because they are comfortable within their space. So according to Holland, if you have the same interest or if you have the same preference, you would have the same personality. And if you're having the same personalities, you're going to respond in similar ways with each other. And the last thing he assumed, I think I've already mentioned it, was that for you to be satisfied in your work, for you to achieve the best that you can achieve in your work, it is dependent on how much your personality aligns with your work environment. How compatible are you with your work environment, and how compatible are you is your personality with your work environment? Are you the artistic type that you're working in a very, very boring environment? You can see that that one might have a level of grey in it. So it has to be compatible. And when it's compatible, job satisfaction increases. Now, let us dive into the assumptions of Holland's theory. The assumptions of Holland's theory is I mentioned Holland codes. Holland codes, if you hear Holland codes, just think of the RIASEC, realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. Those are the Holland codes. So she might even not even tell you, the exam question might not even be, oh, what are, maybe mention the Holland personality theories or maybe the Holland personality traits. It might be using Holland codes described. So don't let it confuse you. Anywhere you see Holland codes, just think about the personality traits. Now, another assumption is that if people of the same personality type are working together, they would create an environment that fits their personality. Now, what this means that let's say five people in a team, maybe a graphics design team. You know, for people to maybe get the job of a graphics designer, they have to have shown experience or they have to have proven that they can come up with really, really nice ideas. They are creative and or maybe artistic. So let's say people that are artistic or people that are creative are working in the same space. It's saying that what Holland is basically saying is that the environments, whatever environments that they are working in, they would arrange their environments or they would make the environment reflect their personality type. And they will make it in such a way that when they do something, it's the environment will reward, reinforcement now. I shouldn't go into that. I know you know what reinforcement is. That will reward their maybe creative thinking and their creative behavior. And that is why that place highlights an artistic environment. So it's like, oh, maybe take for example, I don't know if you have been to some art galleries and then you enter office. For people that are creative, there are people that have the natural instinct to be artistic. The environment that they create for themselves would not be just a plain chair and a plain table. No, you would see that once you enter there, you're like, oh my god, the person that probably stays here is an artistic person. So they get visual gratification from their workspace. In that sense, it is rewarding them. We have spoken about the types of what's it called now personalities. Now the thing about it is that just as the same way as there are 6 types of personalities on that John Holland, there is also 6 types of work environments, and it's still the same thing. It is still the RIASEC, the Holland code that describes the basic type of work environment. Now, the next assumption is that people search for environments where they can use their skills and abilities and then express their values and attitudes. People would not ordinarily search for. Now, this is why I said ordinarily because situation in Nigeria is very, very funny. But let's just say what John. Let us maintain what John said. He said that people would ordinarily look for situations that aligns with their values, their attitude, their personalities. They look for environments where they will be able to use their skills and their abilities. For example, another person will look for work environments that reflect art already. People that are social will look for work environments where they can be more social. People that are realistic would do things that, or investigate, let's say investigative, would do things that are maybe in line with cybersecurity, that they can search for things, maybe data analysis, they're trying to find things in a large thing, in a large concept, but you understand. I hope you understand. Anyway, if you have questions, don't forget to drop them in maybe the comment section, whatever. Now, the next assumption that Holland did was that the last assumption is that people who choose to work in an environment similar to their personality type are more likely to be successful and satisfied. Now, the downside of this assumption is that if people are not able to work in an environment that is similar to their personality type, Holland is trying to say that they might not be as successful. That's what it's basically trying to say. So there are five assumptions. Five assumptions. The first one is that there are six personality traits or personality types under his theory, and these six personality types are almost equivalent to the work environment. So there are also still six types of work environment. And he also said that people with the same personality type would work together to create a work environment that fits their type. Then he also says that people search for places where they can use their skills and abilities to express their values and their abilities. And he said that people that choose similar environments to their personality types are more likely to be successful and to be rewarded. Now, let us dive into the RIASEC model. At least we have been talking about this RIASEC model for a very long time. Now, let's look at the first one. R stands for realistic. The way I like to think about it is the people that are realistic have a hands-on doer kind of vibe. They are hands-on. They do. They like working, like they are, how should I put it? You can say that they are practical, they are focused, they have a tendency to see things as they are in reality. And there are people that like working with tools, machines, and other things. Now, according to the slide, it says that the realistic type person is considered to be rugged, to be robust, to be reserved, to be practical, and to be materialistic. They are often inclined towards mechanical, physical, or technical activities where hands on capabilities are paramount. Now, all these things are basically characteristics of a realistic personality type. They are practical. They value practical knowledge that can be seen and touched. They are usually honest, to be honest. No pun intended, but like they are honest. They are straightforward with others and then they expect the same in return. They are usually orderly. They see themselves as orderly and are good at following a set plan. Now, like the slide says, they like working with technical things or mechanical things. They like working with animals, tools, or machines. They like engaging in activities that involve movement because they are realistic. They need things that they can see, that they can work with, that they can feel, they can touch. That's what they need. Now, an example of a career in Nigeria that deals with realistic personality type would be the mechanics, the electricians, the engineers, the tailors, shoemakers. So those are examples of careers that fall under the realistic type of personality. Now, we now have the investigative personality type. What is the investigative personality type? The slide says that the investigative type person is considered to be analytical, intellectual, complex, critical, and cautious. People of this type are often drawn to the sciences. They are to the sciences, to quantitative pursuits, and research and scholarly activities. Now, what does this mean? Too much grammar is a lot. It's the investigative type of personality is basically referring to people that are task oriented and they usually prefer to work independently on problems. There are those people that are referred to as the thinkers, people that used to think a lot, the deep thinkers, the overthinkers. Those are the kind of the investigative type. They're always searching for complex situations so that they can maybe give their take. They are problem solvers. They enjoy working with research. That's what they like to do. And an example or examples of careers in Nigeria that fit into the investigative personality type would be scientists, doctors, pharmacists, the cybersecurity experts, AI engineers. These are people these are job roles that can fall under the investigative type of personality. Now, the thing about investigative personality is that they are very, very good at maths and science. So they like searching. Even data analysts can fall under investigative job roles because they enjoy it. They enjoy analyzing data and they like searching for facts. You know those people, all those researchers. We have people in our class that are researchers. Hey, me I know mention names, but you know. So that is what the investigative person or what the investigative personality type is about. Then we now have the artistic personality type. The artistic personality type refers to people that are considered to be expressive, imaginative, intuitive, emotional, and non-conforming. People of this type are often drawn to art, writing, theater, and language. Now, according to Holland's theory, someone that has the artistic personality type would enjoy activities like we've already said it, we said arts, writing, theater, language. It can also be music, drama, self-expression, and independence in their work. They usually prefer unstructured environment because they are able to express themselves more in environments where they can use their imaginations freely. Now, the people in this type are known as creators. Remember that the people in the realistic type are known as hands-on. People in investigative are known as thinkers. Now, the people in the artistic type are known as creators. people that they can fall into content creators. So yeah, types examples of careers that fall under the artistic the artistic personality trait is musicians. They can be musicians, they can be content creators, fashion designers, graphic designers, photographers, and writers. But yeah, those are examples of careers that can fall under the artistic type of personality. Moving on, you have the fourth type of personality, which is the social type. Now, the social type is considered to be friendly, to be warm, to be understanding, to be idealistic, and cooperative. People of this type are often drawn to teaching, counseling, social services, and other helping activities. Basically, this type of personality trait refers to someone that has the motivation to or the desire to help others. They find satisfaction in helping others. They usually find satisfaction in teaching, in nursing, in any role where they can support and interact. So these people are the helpers. They are known as the helpers. They are people that anywhere they go to, they are friendly, they are warm, they are understanding, they are people that give benefit of the doubt. But yeah, now examples of careers within this helping the social type of personality would be teachers, counselor, nurses, social workers. Now, customer service are supposed to fall under this, but let's just say that the situation of Nigeria might not allow them to fall under social. But ideally, customer service reps, because they are supposed to be interested in being friendly, in being warm, being understanding. They're supposed to be interested in that. So they're supposed to fall under the social type. So you have different careers that fall under this. And I've mentioned teaching, counselors, nurses, social workers, customer service reps. Now you now have the fifth personality type, and this is the enterprising type. The enterprising type of personality is basically considered to be ambitious, energetic, sociable, assertive, and excitement seeking. So people in this place are always seeking excitement. People of this type are often drawn to politics, business management, leadership, and other entrepreneurial activities. You know what came to my mind when I read this thing? People that like to look for trouble. That's what came to my mind. But anyway, the enterprising personality type refers to people that enjoy leading, that enjoy persuading, that they like to influence others. They are assertive, like the slider said. They are energetic, ambitious, sociable, confident. These are just words that can be used to describe them, because she might. Another question that can come up is describe traits of each of these personalities. So you have to know all these things. All those traits you have to know. They are specific to each personality type. Now, in the Holland code system, the people in the enterprising type of personality are known as the persuader. They are known as the persuaders because they thrive in roles that usually involve selling, management, politics, places where you would need to influence people into making decisions. Hey, did I just into making a decision? They that is the those are the roles that they fit into. Now, an example of careers that they can fall under are business executives, marketing professionals like AKA Funke and Kibele. You have politicians, then you have entrepreneurs. They don't like rest in their life. They like jig. That's the kind of people that are in the enterprising type of personality. And then you now have the conventional type. The conventional type of personality is considered to be conscientious, methodical, careful, orderly, and thrifty. People of this type are often drawn to accounting, to banking, clerical, and computation work. Now, what this basically means is that the people that are conventional, that fall under this personality type, they refer to people that thrive in structured environment. Now, if you remember, we said that the artistic people do not necessarily thrive in unstructured in structured environment. They thrive in unstructured environment because it allows for more expressive opportunities of ideas. But the people here in conventional personality type, that fall under conventional personality type, lack structured environments. They are orderly. They need processes. They enjoy working with data and numbers in a systematic way. So these are the mathematicians. The people that maybe would enjoy jobs like coding, when there are rules, clear rules, established procedures, and these people are known as the organizers. So now we know we have different names of this. In the Holland code, they are known as the organizers. They are known as they are seen as orderly. They are seen as rule followers. They don't break the rules. They don't like breaking the rules. They are task oriented. They need to have a goal. They need to have a task to work. Now there are typical careers that they can work in. They can work in as librarians or bookkeepers, administrative assistant. They can even do admin work for VA administration. They can become file clerk. They can do all those data entry work. They can become bankers or clerks, bank clerks, or even an office manager. So these are jobs, careers for the conventional type. Now let's do a little bit of a recap about the names that each one of these personality types, the other names that each one of the personality types can be called. You have the realistic type. They are called the hands-on. personality traits. The investigative type are known as the creatives, known as the thinkers. Then the artistic type of personality, the people there are known as creators. Then you now have the social type. The social type are known as the helpers. Then you now have, I don't know if you got that, but if you got that, give yourself a round of applause. Then you have the enterprising. The enterprising people are known as the persuaders. And then you now have the conventional. If you get this last one, I will give you pin pop. But then you would have to see bribery and corruption. Wow. But what is the last one? Should we say it together? They are known as the organizer. So recap: hands-on, you have thinker, you have creators, you have helpers, you have persuaders, and then you have organizers. So these are other words, even an expo for you to remember. So that by the time you remember, oh, helping traits, what are the helping traits? You write it down. It falls on that social. What are the organizing traits that you could think of? You write it down. What are the thinking traits that people can have? You write it down. Expo. I've given you another expo. No, don't worry, don't mention. So now moving on to the next thing, let us examine the relationship between the types of personality. And for us to understand this, there was the use of an hexagon to explain how this thing works.
And the rule of understanding how the hexagon works is that any personality trait that is adjacent or that is closely associated with another personality trait shows the compatibility of those traits. But that if the traits are facing opposite of each other, then it shows that they are not necessarily compatible. So just take a look at the hexagon. You have the realistic first on top, and then you have social on the bottom. You have investigative on the upper right, artistic on the lower right, conventional on the upper left, and then enterprising on the lower left. Now, the meaning of the English is that realistic and investigative are closely related. So someone that has a realistic personality might function better with someone with an investigative personality. Someone that is conventional, that has a conventional personality type, can function well with someone that has a realistic personality type. However, if you're looking at the opposite of realistic is social. Now, it shows how different their interests would be. Someone that is realistic is a hands-on doer. He likes to work with things like tools, works with animals, really prefers to work with people because they like to work independently. However, if you're looking at the social part, the helpers, they like to help people. So these people here with the social are concerned about the welfare of others. Realistic are not necessarily interested in the welfare of others because they want to do what they want to do and leave the place. They are not necessarily social people. And that is why there are times where if people with these kinds of personalities, with this realistic and then social meet, they have different interests. So they might find it difficult to function properly unless they put in the extra efforts that they are supposed to put. But if a realistic person meets a conventional person or an investigative person, they might click up because conventional people like to follow rules. Realistic people like to work with machines that technically have rules because if a machine was designed to function this way, it has a rule. And then investigative or research, or they like to solve problems. So you can see the relationship between these adjacent ones. And it's like that too for other ones. A conventional person can work well with an enterprising personality type and also a realistic personality type. However, they might find it difficult to work with people that are artistic because conventional people like organization and structure. Creators, people that are artistic, do not necessarily, they like unstructured because they feel like they're better able to express. So somebody that is investigative might function well with someone that is artistic because investigative again likes to analyze from all perspectives. They're analytical, they are scholarly in a sense. So they might function well with people too that are artistic. And like that. So just know that when one personality trait is close to another, they would function well. The closer they are together, the more compatible they are, the more compatible their interest is. But once they are opposite each other, it is their interests would be farther apart from each other. So that is what the Holland hexagon basically describes. Now, there are other key concepts that are central to the Holland theory. And these concepts are basically just 5, which is just one with like 4 babies. So the most important one is actually calculus. And I said calculus is the most important one because what it explains is that it refers to, or what calculus describes is the concept of arranging the 6 personality types as the hexagon, in which the case, and when you arrange it, where the proximity between the different types of personalities represents the degree of similarity. Basically, it's what we have spoken about in the hexagon. All these things are just English. Now, see what the slide said. The slide says calculus refers to the degree of relatedness of all the types based on the distances between them on the hexagon. So same thing. So what the calculus is basically describing is that the adjacent personality types on the hexagon are closely related to each other than those further apart. This is basically what calculus means. So the degree of relatedness is dependent on the distance between the personality types on the hexagon. Simple English. You don't need to do too much. You just need to know that the social personality type would be related to the artistic personality type is dependent on how far away they are from each other. If they are beside each other, that means they are very related. And if they are far, like opposites kind of far in the placement of the hexagon, then they are obviously not that related to each other. So you have to be careful in when you're learning how to draw the hexagon, because the drawing of the hexagon is very important. If you make a mistake with the placement of one personality type on the hexagon, it would be a problem. So just remember Ryasek. So it's R and it's going clockwise. Yes, it's going clockwise. So it's Ryasek. Riasec. That's how you can remember it. Now, when you understand what calculus is, there are other terms under it where you have to understand. And so, or maybe you need to know other terms to be able to better understand what calculus describes. Now, the first one is consistency. Consistency refers to the assumption that adjacent pairs of types on the hexagon are most related and accordingly most consistent. What this means is that consistency is measuring how closely related a person's top two personality types are. So let's say, now they said adjacent pairs of types on the hexagon are most related, and we already understand that one. From the hexagon, we know that let's say R is realistic, R and I investigative. When they're together, they are most consistent. So it's basically, if somebody measures, if somebody does a personality, if somebody takes a Holland personality trait type test, and then the person gets a score of that is very high. I think someone brought up this question in the class, and then someone gets a very high score in realistic, and then a very high, partially high score in social. Maybe realistic is the first personality that scored maybe like 50, and then social is getting something, the next highest like maybe like 30. That result is not consistent. The person's personality trait is not consistent according to John Holland, because these are totally different personality traits. But however, if the first highest score was realistic, and then the second highest score was investigative, or even maybe conventional, then it shows how consistent that result is. That's what consistency is defining. That's what consistency, the concept of consistency is defining. Then you now have the concept of congruence. Now, according to the congruence part, it refers to the degree of match between one's type and the type of work environment that he or she ultimately chooses. What this means is congruence is measuring how much, or is measuring the degree to which a person's personality is matching their work environment. Remember in the beginning that as one of the assumptions that John Holland made was that for the individual to be successful and for the individual to have job satisfaction, his or her personality must align with the work environment. And that is what congruence is basically saying. It's basically just trying to measure how much of the person's personality is matching the work environment. And we have an example that the persons who measure artistic as the highest type would be more congruent. That means would be more successful or more in line in an environment that incorporates artistic activities, that allows for artistic expressions, and that attracts other artistic people. So somebody that has the artistic personality can decide to work in an art museum, because then you're going to have creatives coming. You're going to be able to maybe paint and draw as you would like, or maybe even musicians. Musicians are artists too. They would want to go or work in situations where they would meet other musicians, and they will be able to maybe go for rap battles where they're able to express their feelings or ideas in a way that doesn't necessarily have any rules. Now, you now have another term, which is the differentiation. Now, the differentiation, to be honest, this definition in, in the slide is quite confusing. So I came up with a definition that is simpler. Now, the differentiation concept measures whether a person strongly identifies with one type or is a mix of multiple types. So now, let's go back to the slide. It's confusing, but we can get it, we can understand it. It says, it refers to a person's purity of type. You know, I said, if a person strongly identifies with one type. So a person's purity of type, or whether that person clearly resembles one or perhaps two types, yet clearly does not resemble the other types. So it's basically saying that, let's say, okay, no, let me still use the John Holland, let me not divert. For the differentiation part, if you're saying that somebody is realistic, that is what the person strongly identifies with after doing the test, it can be that the person has like maybe 90% of these realistic traits, and then the person, you obviously know that the person is realistic. But if at all there is a mix, and then the person may be realistic, conventional, enterprising, there should be like a differentiation of that person's personality to other personality types. So the concept of differentiation is used to analyze how well an individual's interests align with a particular career path based on what their scores are after they do the John Holland test. And I know it's a little bit confusing, but I hope I was able to explain it in a way that you understand it clearly more, like better. And now the last term under the key concept that we need to know, that's also under calculus, is identity. So identity basically refers to the degree, or what identity does is that it measures the degree to which an individual has a clear and stable understanding of the vocational preferences, their interests, and their skills. So the person understands that based off of their interests, their goals, their talents, they can function well in this career and they will be able to do well. So when they understand that, they will be able to form a strong career identity. And the degree at which somebody would relate more on the identity level or identity scale is highly dependent to the levels of consistency and differentiation. So how consistent are your scores when you take the John Holland test? Is it that you have almost equal scores on opposite personality traits, or you are actually having high scores on adjacent traits? How consistent are your values? And then how consistent how much are you able to identify with certain types of personality type? Or is it that it's a combination? So if you have high differentiation scores and high consistent scores, then you're going to have a high identity score. That's how it is. But if you have low consistency and low differentiation scores, your identity scores, obviously you'll be confused because you're relating with so many different things. Now we'll be moving on to the last subheading of this lecture, and that is the type of environment. Remember, we said that John believed that the nature of an environment would determine also, okay, the environment has personalities, but and that if the environment aligns with the personality type, it would mean that the person will be more likely to be successful within that career. Now, there is something that John also argued. He argued that the environment type, the type of environment that was created, was determined by three key factors. The first one was the pattern of personalities that make up the environment. And what this means is that he's trying to say that the workplace environment would be shaped by the dominant personalities of the type of people that are in them. So, take for example, in let's say a software development company. Now, in the software development company, you're supposed to have people that are innovative, people that are analytical. Yes, that's who you're supposed to have. Now, these people would structure the environment in such a way that they would have an innovative and an analytical and they'll have an innovative and an analytical work culture than from a law firm. A law firm would normally have people that are more conventional and people that have investigative personalities. So you can see the personality types that are dominant within a workspace would determine how the environment looks like. To bring it closer to home, let's bring it to the school. Now, in a Nigerian university, the faculty of engineering might have a little bit more structure and a more technical environment. I mean, than when you compare it to fine arts. At least in fine arts, you're seeing a little bit more colors, more drawings than if you go to the faculty of engineering. And this is because in the faculty of engineering, in the faculty of engineering, you have people that are realistic, people that are probably conventional there, and so they are structured. They like to follow rules. However, in fine arts, you have people that are artistic, people that are social, people that have artistic and creative personalities. So they would want their environment to reflect their personality. Another thing that Holland said determines the work environment is the nature of work done in the unit or organization. And this basically means that the type of tasks performed in an organization would also influence the environment. Take, for example, a bank. We're going to be comparing two things, a bank and a media company. Now, in a bank, tasks are mostly repetitive. They are mostly structured. When you come to work, you may be signing at the counter. When you sign in, you go to your workstation, you start counting money, whatever, whatever. But the thing is that it is structured and it is repetitive. And because of this structure and repetition, it's going to have a more formal and conventional environment than when you compare it to maybe a social media company or a general media company. Because media companies have to be more creative. They deal with creative content. They would have to employ a more flexible and artistic work culture and work environment. They cannot say they want to be following rules all the time. No, they have to leave space for flexibility. And that is how the nature of work done in the unit organization can affect the type of environment that is created. Now, the last one that Holland said that can affect the environment type is the power differentials. He said, I like attracts like. Now, what this means is that people in leadership positions usually influence the work environment by attracting individuals who share similar values and work style. And because of this attraction that usually happens, it results in a certain dominant personality type becoming the norm in specific field. Now, you have to put this into context. Let's say you go for an interview, and then the person that you go, maybe you're someone that is social, and then the person that you go to that maybe interviews you is also social. Obviously, he is going to like you, take a liking to you, and maybe because you guys relate on that social level, he might employ you. So imagine he's always employing people that are social, and then when he meets someone that is realistic, he's not interested in employing that person. So this leads to a dominant personality type within the environment. And another example is in the political landscape. The thing about politics is that usually people that are strong-willed and persuasive that usually rise up to leader, people that have sweet mouth and sugary mouth. And because they rise to leadership position, they usually attract like-minded people. And when they do this, it reinforces a competitive and an ambitious environment. So those are the factors that affect how the environment type is determined. Now you have compatible work environments. I think we already explained this. I hope you were able to understand it. If you notice this, you can kind of like picture the hexagon here, and you can see that for the realistic, you have C and I beside it. So that is why it is compatible. These are compatible with each other. And this is how we come to the end of this lecture for today. In summary, what Holland's theory is saying is that both individuals and environments can influence career satisfaction, and that the person's personality has to align with their work environment. When the person's personality aligns with their work environment, they are more likely to thrive. I hope you were able to understand what was being said, and you should take your time to actually explore the Holland's hexagon to get a more better understanding. And I'll see you in the next class. Bye.